Hi everybody, this is David, and it really isn't very often that a game can make me feel like a kid again on Christmas morning, but here I am! I still remember back in 1993, whenever I got Secret of Mana for Christmas. I opened up that box and I was thrilled! I must have played it all winter break long. And then, kind of remember, like on the weekends, when you'd wake up in like the early morning hours at like 6 o'clock in the morning, before anybody else was up, before your brother could like steal the Super Nintendo from you, or your mom could make you do chores, and you would just play a game for a couple of hours before anybody bothered you? Well, that's what I've been doing too these last couple of days. Like, I just cannot get enough of this game, and I am so excited to share my review with you. Secret of Mana was a pivotal childhood game of mine, and while I had played other action RPGs before it, such as Crystallis, nothing could compare to my love of Secret of Mana, so please forgive me if I go through this review literally comparing it point by point to its masterpiece predecessor. Taking place in the world of Trinity, where in ages past, the gods fought an unending war against each other, and in the aftermath, they sent down their holy weapons to the land below. Millennia have passed, and now each of your characters is a representative of the gods, and as such, they're able to communicate with special beings called triggers, who are pretty much like little fairy companions who can morph into holy weaponry once you find the appropriate altars. Kind of similar to how you had to find the 8 mana seeds over in Secret of Mana. But here, whenever you find altars, you get new weapons for your characters, and not everybody can use every weapon either. Your party consists of your clueless hero Cyan, the know-it-all stuck-up prude Elise, and the happy-go-lucky comic relief with a mysterious past, Xantis. All told, the three get along and the dialogue is very fun. While Secret of Mana was light on the story and character building, Trinity Trigger isn't. This is much more deep, complex, and involved, even down to the NPCs and associated side quests, of which there are plenty, and they're clearly marked on the map too, so completing them really shouldn't be a problem. Though, to be honest, I really did just ignore them for the most part, and I still did just fine. I'll be the first to admit that many times I just turn on the radio whenever I'm playing a game, but here I didn't. I thoroughly enjoyed the soundtrack, as well as the fully voiced cutscenes. Pretty much everybody has a voice, except for those random NPCs of course, and if you want to, you can change their voices over from English to Japanese. The bulk of the gameplay takes place in dungeons, the overworld, and fighting monsters. You can control any one of 3 characters, and utilize their weapons to hit enemy weaknesses. If your damage numbers are red, you've hit a weakness, white is normal, and blue is resistant. So you're going to be swapping your weapons around constantly. I guess that they put a weapon weakness system in because magic is unfortunately lacking here. There are no elementals to collect, and no spells to cast either. If you've played Secret of Mana, you know exactly what to expect in combat. You have a stamina meter where you can swing your sword roughly about 6 or so times before you have to wait a few seconds for it to recover. Additionally, you can dodge and roll to add an extra layer to the combat. Enemies and bosses easily telegraph their attacks too, so you'd better get out of the way and avoid them lest you get hit, because otherwise, it can get brutal. This takes a page out of the SNES's book, and there is no difficulty modifier. There is one difficulty setting, but overall, I do think that it is rather balanced. This is no Dark Souls, but it's also not a walk in the park either. I mean, I've died, and I even got game overs. But if you do game over at a boss, you are allowed to retry, and then the boss will get weaker each time, so you're never really stuck. I feel like the difficulty is perfectly balanced, but at the same time, I never had to grind either, unlike in Secret of Mana. Remember back how in Secret of Mana, whenever you encountered a boss, you pretty much just spammed spells with the sprite until it died? Well, again, you don't have magic, so you can't do that here. Instead, each boss has a weapon weakness which you need to exploit to break down their shield. Then, once it's broken, they're going to be temporarily stunned, and there, you can pile on the damage. So it's here that you really want to use your unique weapon overlimits and group hitting Trinity attacks to deal massive damage. To further differentiate the weaponry, there's also buffing abilities. you just hit the square button, for example, and the sword will increase your attack power, while the bow will increase your critical hit rate. Back in Secret of Mana, you'd have to use your weapons constantly to grind up their levels, but that's not the case here, because instead, the more bosses that you fight, the more your weapons power up, and then you have to use the TP that you gain by fighting to power up your 6 different weapon skills. Each time that you upgrade a skill, it will increase the weapon's base power as well as the skill's power. Then, you can customize which 3 skills of the 6 that you want to use in your combos too. It does sound complex, but I promise you, it's not. It's super simple and really intuitive. Now, while there is no traditional equipment, here you have Manatite that you attach to your weapons, which are pretty much just like gems and accessories. There's both attack and defensive gems, and you've got to stick them onto your weapons to improve your stats, and they can do everything from increasing your attack power, to allow you to absorb more HP with each blow that you deal, or even raise the amount of experience that you gain from monsters. The combinations that you can equip are really just endless. The dungeons can be a bit complex, and they're filled to the brim with puzzles, switches, traps, hidden treasures, and secrets to find. So, thankfully, there's a mini-map, and underneath it, it shows you how many treasures there are in the room. But you have to find them yourself by busting down walls, breaking rocks, or going through one of the many secret passages around. This is a game that really rewards thorough exploration. Then, in town, there are items scattered all around indicated by little sparklies. You've got to explore everywhere to get all the items, just like in those old school RPGs of yesteryear. I will say this, if you didn't grow up on Secret of Mana, or your first action RPG was like Dark Souls, then maybe you won't like this. But if you happen to like the Mana series, or games like Crystallis, Dark Cloud, The Alliance Alive, or the E series, then I think that you can find something to enjoy here. The whole thing is just such a throwback to a simpler time and place, but with added quality of life improvements, such as fast travel at all save points, auto-saving, 3-player multiplayer, and quick exits from dungeons. This here is honestly how the Mana series really should have evolved over time, not that Dawn of Mana trash that they shoved in our face. So, that's it for my review of Trinity Trigger, which is releasing on April 25th for the Nintendo Switch, PS4 and 5, as well as the PC. And if you want to pick it up for yourself, there is a link to do so in the comments, which will help me out and the channel too. What do you think about the game? Let me know in the comments. And if you like this video and what I do on the channel, please consider following me over on Twitter, supporting me on Patreon for exclusive videos and early access to my content, heading on over to Twitch for some streaming fun, or coming on over to my Discord to chat and hang out. The links to them all can be found in the video description. This has been David, and if you like this, please like, comment, and subscribe, and have a good day.